He doesn't know who he is.
Who's this guy? Who's Whiteley over here? Who is this? No, that's Forrest Whitley. Oh, so he has been here the whole time.
I had no idea. I'm not seeing anything about it. Does or will count to fill in the gap. I see an article from The Athletic talking about it, but that's something to keep an eye on.
Well, I mean, it could be. I know some of these guys are actually been delayed by the weather problems. So
that's true.
The NBA canceled a bunch of games.
Could be an under the weather COVID thing. Maybe he contact tracing. He's hanging out, and they're just saying, that could be code speak for why he's not there.
And the Mavericks haven't played since they haven't played since Valentine's Day because of the weather stuff. So the Rockets pretty close to that too. So. If he's stuck in Texas, some of these guys have just been absolutely stuck. I feel like they should have said that.
Yeah.
Like, if he's not in Florida because he hasn't been able to report, to say, yeah, he got stuck in Texas because of the weather. He's not here yet. But
but they didn't, so it might be more COVID-y type of issues. So who knows? I'm out. I've been out on Forrest Whitley, but, all it takes is getting to the majors sometime and an opportunity. But, opportunity is usually good when you're there. Aaron Boone said Saturday that even though they signed Brett Gardner, Clint Frazier is still the team's starting left fielder. I will believe it when I see it. I think that's a little sucky that they brought him back because they really would like Frazier to not have any competition, but they do have Judge and Stanton, so there's always outfield opportunities when someone is hurt. Twins they announced that J.A. Happ tested positive for COVID and is intake testing, so keep an eye on that. And Jackie Bradley Jr., people are I think the Red Sox are keeping in touch. The Mets, I think, are out, but the Brewers are the most recent that are looking for JBJ's services. So that's kind of one of the last guys left out there that hasn't signed up, Boggs.
Man, all right. So I guess, what do they have? They've got Kane, they've got Yelich, and they've got Avisale. I kind of don't.
But Avisale could play first. He could do I say DH,
that's
but they're
true.
not the DH that they're.
Well, but they're moving Keston here to first. So, yeah. I don't know about that. I don't like Milwaukee.
I don't think Avisale is any lock, though. Avisale and JB. I mean, dude, I'm going to tell you this. If they had Kane, Yelich, and JBJ, that is a great defensive outfield.
No, I like that outfield a lot, but here's the issue is now, who's getting a day off? I feel like JBJ is probably playing 5 days a week. So is Kane. Maybe Avisale's moving around.
No,
maybe because
I don't think JBJ has to. Or I don't think Jackie Bradley Jr. plays every single day. He could take a day. I think they could get Avisale Garcia.
But see, that's my point.
4 to 6 days.
I think between Kane, Avisale, and JBJ, they'll probably rotate those guys. It's annoying for all of them.
Yeah, sure.
So I would rather have them go to Boston and win a spot there rather than get in this mix and mess it all up.
Yeah, it's pretty good
because Lorenzo Cain is going fairly cheap, and he's a guy like in points leagues that Joe mentioned the other day, going to hit at the top of the lineup. Roster Resource has him 2 behind Wong, but he could easily hit leadoff, and he's a nice cheap option. So I just don't want to mess with him, really.
Yeah. Well, news and notes continue to keep going. This coming week is where we're really going to take off. We're getting our notes, just from the camps themselves. Spring training games, I think, start up on Friday or Saturday, one of the two. So it's going to start up this week. Games will get going. More fun action to start applicably putting in. And then we'll be at a game to tell you as well. Let's get into the show, though. We want to get you guys all those notes. I know it's taken a little bit, but ranks analysis time. We'll set the stage. We'll tell you what it's all about right after this.
The thing about comparing rates at Progressive.com is that by now you've heard a lot of ads about comparing rates at Progressive.com. We probably don't even need the words comparing rates anymore to remind you that seasoning steaks at Progressive.com is an easy way to save on car insurance, or that swimming in trousers helps you find the lowest rate. And that's the thing about foraging for truffles. You've heard a lot of ads about standing tiptoe on a cinder block. Compare rates and sing softly to a wounded field mouse and save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations.
When you operate a business, maximizing efficiency is your business. At CenterPoint Energy, we know your margins can be thin. So we provide your business, no matter the industry or size, money-saving rebate programs and services. Upgrade to high-efficiency natural gas equipment to save big now with rebates and lower operating costs for years to come at CenterPointEnergy.com/save now. Helping you save money, energy, and the environment. CenterPoint Energy. Always there.
In this league,
somebody royally forked up. Somebody forked up. Why can't I say fork?
If you're trying to curse, you can't hear.
It's bullshit. Holy
motherforking shirt balls.
Ranks analysis for Yahoo, ESPN, Fantrax. We've even got the Fantasy Pros attached in here as well, just so we can, we can go in and have a reference point for all of these things. So, what this is, and I don't remember where this fully started from, but and we've talked about one of the problems that exists in the fantasy industry. We try not to do it as much, but we're all susceptible to it. Is people talk in an insulated way? They, the CBS guys will predominantly talk points. That's just how their brains work, and that's the standard for CBS. Yahoo, I've warned people, just be careful in how you're listening. If you're listening to like Yahoo specific stuff, they are going to talk to you in a Yahoo way. And the only reason that's different this year is because holy position eligibility, Batman. They're all available. They're available at their 2019 spots. So you got to be careful. So we just decided one day, we were like, let's pit some of these up against each other. We do mocks in different places. They're not all equal. So that's what is done here. We've got a sheet that's going to tell you, who are the deals and who's expensive on each one of the formats. Sometimes we find trends of usually it's like, hey, you can get this on ESPN. You can get that on Yahoo. And Fantrax is like, they love Dynasty. That's going to drive some of it. And I think it's really informative. It'll tell you a lot about your site. The only disadvantage is things change. And that is what Bogman dealt with this past week when he had finished this sheet, and then he hits me up and goes, ESPN just completely changed their ranks, and you had the decision, Boggs, of either quitting or readjusting. And it's not just readjusting ESPN either. It's readjusting every single sheet. Yeah,
the problem is when you change the rankings for a site wholly and completely. Now that I've done the legwork and I've found the rankings for all of ESPN, all of Yahoo, and all of Fantrax, excuse me, now I have to go in and change everything that I've done because ESPN is now different. And it wasn't just a few guys that change on ESPN. What I do is I basically take a guy that's like post 250 and see if he is exactly where he was a week ago. And every time I've done this with ESPN, for the most part, and ESPN has had a problem for a while where once they put up their initial ranks, they don't flinch. That's it. They don't move. But this time, I don't know if we were to blame for some of it, but we were talking about how awful the ESPN rankings were, and even their own people were having different ranks from their own. Remember, because that article came out and Trey Turner was like number 2.
Oh yeah, the ESPN article was like, here's the points league ranking, and whoever the guy was, Biggie Smalls or whatever the guy's name was, he ranked Trey Turner number 2 in points, and I was just like, what?
Right, exactly. Huh? So Tupac had him number 2 in points. So we're moving all these guys around, and when I went to look, I just looked at someone post 250, and they had changed by like 2 spots.
So let me ask you this.
Okay, give me someone around 100, and Yoel Moncada was 114, and now he's exactly 100. So had to redo the whole damn thing. So instead of spending 1 full weekend, like I normally do on this, it was 2 full weekends because I had to redo the whole thing.
We are blessed by you, Bogman. We truly are. We are blessed by Bogman. Let me ask you, when people are wrapping their heads around this, this is what they get when they open up the draft room.
Yes, exactly. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were making a bigger statement.
I did inflect it like that, but then your pause had me worried I was ready for you to go, no, it's not. And I was going to be
no. This is exactly. So what I do is I go into a mock draft.
This is critical for people to understand because when you hear ranks, it can mean a lot of things. This is opening, like Bogman said, you open up a draft room. So this is what you are using.
Yes, you open up a draft room, and this is what it is. I mean, if you're making your own ranks, God bless you, do that. But if you're, someone that doesn't have time for that, like 95% of the people that are listening to this and doing it, then this is, you open up the room. This is what you see on ESPN. Exactly. And they don't switch from roto to points to head to head. All their rankings are the same.
That's interesting. That's on ESPN because Yahoo has their attempt of league format ranking by their X rank. So that would change if you were changing them. Well, at least their X rank would. So there's a million different ways to do it. What you have to commonly do, the approach that we try to take is the standard dude comes in, they see the draft board, and they draft there. Yes, you could, on Yahoo, you could click rank, you could click ADP, you can do that on all of these because Yahoo has X rank and rank. ESPN, you could go by ADP, or you could import, or you can not pay attention at all. There's a million different ways, but we're taking the approach of this is what the draft board looks like when you pop up a draft, and this is what people are going to see. And that's why, in the mock drafts we do, sometimes we'll be like, hey, this is interesting. This guy's not on the front page. And that's an advantage. If the guy doesn't pop up on the very front page of something, you'll start to get values. I think that happened with Cody Bellinger on, I want to say ESPN. I think he wasn't like on the first page of stuff, and all of a sudden you had to scroll a little bit to get him. Same thing would happen on, because, Fantrax does the score thing, which I still hate. You've got to know these things to take advantage.
Someone asked me the other day, they were like, do you know how
I got asked
Fantrax does this score? And I was like, I have no idea, and I don't pay attention to it at all. So
I think it would be, I should mention it to them. They really should have an art. Maybe they do have
instead
an article.
of the
Maybe
score,
we're lazy.
they should just have a rank.
Well, I agree.
That's
but
what everybody else does.
They should do something to break down what makes the score. Like to have a video posted, like a little help. Someone wants in a draft room, hey, click this video, and it's 5 minutes of Cross saying, here is how we get and create the score. Because I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what creates it? Because this exact person, by the way, did this because they were like, they were like, they're like, it was a basketball thing. They're like, this player is apparently the number one best player in all of fantasy basketball, and it wasn't. But they had the best score by them, so it's just nonsense. But we'll get into this. This has 4 parts to it. It has each website dedication. ESPN highs, lows, Yahoo highs, lows, Fantrax highs, lows, and then the 4th is a all over the place where you've got a mixed opinion on a player. So what we're pinpointing here is a guy that you are going to have to pay up more for on a site, or you're going to get at a value. And it's important to know those things, especially if they're targets, because I'm looking at one guy here. There's a 40 pick swing between this player. On ESPN and Fantrax. You want to know that stuff. So that's what we're hoping to do here.
And just as we mentioned during the mock, even though ESPN adjusted their rankings and they are better than what we were looking at in our mock. Remember, we didn't have ADPs. We didn't have all we had was their initial rankings, and those have been switched now too. They are better, but ESPN by far still has the most different from Yahoo and Fantrax. Now, we mentioned before the difference. Yahoo is annoying because of the the eligibility. Yeah, all of that stuff. ESPN is annoying because the ranks are still crazy, even though they're better. And Fantrax is annoying because when it all goes on either their score, which we don't pay attention to at all, like we just said, or ADP, which is what most people are looking at when they're in the room, is by ADP. And because you can start drafting on Fantrax in November, or most of the time it's October, but this year it was November because the World Series was pushed back and all that stuff. So because people have been drafting since then, it's hard to move players. And I redid, because I was redoing ESPN anyway, I redid Fantasy Pros, Fantrax as well. And I think the most spots a guy moved was 5 in a week. And that's pretty big. But those were lower guys. And Jared Kelenic is in like the 170s.
And it just can't represent, your point is it cannot represent like current
what's happening
trends
right now
well enough. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Unless you start to, the best way, like what you could do with NFBC is you can go and, pick a couple days or a week or a month or whatever. You sort it and then you look at what the drafts are. That's kind of the best way to do it. So let's start with ESPN. We'll go through there. We'll probably get 2 done, then a break, and then we'll get the last 2. And the last one is obviously where players are all over the board. This is for you taking advantage, knowing the players in the format. And hell, you may know this stuff, hear this stuff, and just be like, I don't care if there's an advantage here, but you want to know what others are going to be doing. And that, the consumer base, I don't care how competitive your league is, unless it's an all-industry one, you're probably going to have more than half the people that are going to just pull up a draft room and they're going to draft. So take advantage of it. So, ESPN. We start there. We've got who is expensive on ESPN compared to the rest and who is cheap. And let's start with my former team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. I am no longer, because of Trevor Bauer, I have written off as a lifelong Dodgers fan, Bogman. I have written that off, and I am now solely and exclusively in a relationship with just the Diamondbacks. And occasionally the Padres.
Are you sure?
in favor
Yeah,
of the
okay.
Padres.
See, yeah, and your side chick is the Padres. See,
Yeah.
still don't trust you. So you
Sometimes the
still cannot
Mariners,
trust
when I go down to their fields, kind of a fan of the Royals, just not the Dodgers. That's the main one. Corey Seager will cost you the most on ESPN. He has a fantasy